Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 7 of our online 3020 course. Whew, man, we are halfway through October and it is wild. You guys just turned in project 2. High five. And this week we're going to start our work on project 3. Now, a large portion of your work for project 3 has already begun because project 3 is going to center on your experiences tutoring and working with St. Vincent Sarah Fisher. So all of the relationship building and intro work that you've been doing over the past week or two is going to start transitioning into a rhythm for you and your tutees. And we're going to be thinking about that relationship. We're going to be thinking about the implications of tutoring, education, mediating things online, and all of that is sort of the rich soil in which your project 3 is going to grow. So in this week's video, I'm definitely going to talk you guys through the project 3 assignment. I want to look at all of the weeks in project 3. This is a 7-week project, so this takes up a good half of our entire semester. So it's going to have a rhythm to it, and I want to try to show you that rhythm as it's laid out in the coming weeks' assignments. Then I want to talk you guys through the readings for this week, just kind of give like the overview to help you frame the readings and make sure that you're getting all the high points. And then I will close out this video with a few announcements and housekeeping items. So we're just going to jump right in, both feet all the way in the deep end. Let's get to it. Okay. So here we are in our Canvas view, and I just want to show you that Project 3, the title of it is a digital ethnography. So this gives us some insight into the type of research that we're going to be doing for this project. And I guess that's a spoiler alert, because if you haven't looked at the assignment yet, this is a research project. Yes, exciting. I know you're as thrilled as I am. I mean, I really truly do love research, guys. It's so fun. All right, but enough about that. Project 3 assignment description. We are doing an ethnography, and traditionally this is a genre of research that has its roots in anthropology and sociology, but it's used a lot in rhetoric and composition because it's so useful for thinking about really complicated educational situations and really complicated contexts for literacy practices. And those are two things that you guys are having firsthand experience with as we're working with St. Vincent Sarah Fisher. So hopefully everything's going to come together really nicely, both in our research methods and in our service work, to create some really strong new neural pathways and new knowledge for you guys. So we have been doing some work. We've thought a little bit about our own stance towards service learning and our service partner. We just finished a project where we analyzed the written communication of our service learning partner. And this project, we're going to start to explore aspects of this community from the inside, because that's where you guys are, working with our community partner and doing the tutoring. So like I said, ethnography, it goes way back. There's lots of different ways that you can approach ethnography, but for our purposes, we are thinking about this because we are all online. This is, for all intents and purposes, a digital ethnography, because what we are going to be observing is a mediated interaction, or a digital interaction, a virtual interaction. And the main way that you guys are going to collect your primary data or your hands-on data is going to be through field notes. Now, if you look up here at this picture, field notes makes a lot more sense if you imagine yourself literally in the field, or a field, as the case may be. But your experience of being in the field is when you hop online and get that digital interaction with your tutee. And that is our field for our research. That's where you're going to be really trying to think about what's happening in the interaction. Now, I realize that you won't be able to take really thorough notes when you're in the middle of tutoring, but your field notes can be written after the fact. So what we're going to just start doing is writing down sort of like dual column field notes after every tutoring session. You won't necessarily have to turn those into me, but that is going to become your data for this research project. And sort of out of the things that you're noticing, out of the tensions or the things that are going really well, or just the patterns maybe that you're starting to recognize in your interactions, that's what will help you develop your research question. So your question is going to hopefully be something around service learning, your tutoring experience, what happens when we tutor online. Maybe your research question is going to be something around identity or mediating relationships with a child who is maybe not super excited to be in their tutoring session, or who is super excited and maybe just is phenomenal, and you're like, man, does this kid even need tutoring? There are a lot of different experiences that you guys are already having, as I've seen in your reflection journals, and those can become really interesting points of research. They can have to do with the implications of education, of nonprofit work, of tutoring. Your questions might center around literacy or the learning process for students. There's a lot of ways that you can approach this project. Now, it's not going to just be the observations, because definitely scholars from many fields have thought about these kinds of questions and written really smart things about them. So you are going to also be gathering secondary research as well. So you'll be finding some sources and digging into your research question by both primary, so that's your own study, your own field notes of the actual interactions, and secondary, that's reading articles that have to do with your situation and your question. So this project is basically going to have you taking your field notes. You're going to develop a research question. You're going to compose a brief literature review and organize and synthesize all that information into a research paper. So, brass tacks, right? You're going to gather 8 to 10 sources. You're going to record your field notes once a week, basically starting this week. And you're going to create a literature review that's going to pull together all of your sources. You're going to write out the results. So you're going to analyze your field notes and come to some conclusions about the question that you pose regarding an aspect of your service learning. We're going to break this down into some steps, okay? So like Jean-Luc Picard says, one impossible thing at a time. We're not going to do this whole project in a week. It's going to take us 7 weeks to gather our data, synthesize our sources, write up our results, and pull it all together for feedback. So altogether, it's going to be about 1,500 to 2,000 words. You're going to need 8 to 10 credible sources. Majority should be scholarly, but you can have up to 3 more popular or supplemental sources. And in terms of your major project milestones, we're going to be working on field notes, getting your research plan and your question in place. Your annotated bibliography will come due. Your field notes, you're going to want to start analyzing them around week 10, putting things together in terms of drafts in the last probably third of the project. And here are the learning outcomes that we are going to tackle. So some of you may have done ethnographic research before, and that's going to be great because that's going to stand you in really good stead. If you've never done ethnographic research before, it's really fun, and it's really an interesting way to approach experiential researching. Okay, so let me take you out to our homepage. By the way, if you have any questions about any of that I just talked about, please feel free to email me. I want to show you the rhythm that this project is going to go through. I'm hoping that it will help you with your time management. What you'll see here is that we kind of have like a light week and then a more heavy week, a light week and a more heavy week, sort of dispersing the work out over these 7 weeks. Here's what I mean. So you'll see here, week 7 this week, you have your reflection journal and a reading discussion, and that's it. So even though these readings might look intimidating, there's 4 of them, but they're easy. They should go pretty fast. And I'll talk about sort of like the high points in a second, but what you'll see is that these readings are designed to help you think about your Project 3. Your discussion will help you synthesize it. And then we have this week that's really just maintaining our homework. The week after that, we'll have a couple of readings, again, designed to help you think about Project 3, but then also you're going to be drafting your first section of the paper. So your methods section, we're going to have a draft peer review time, week 8. So that might feel like this week 8 might seem like more of a heavier week. Week 9, as you can see, we've got a reading, your reflection journal, and discussion. So this is going to be a lighter week. It should be a little bit easier. The week after that, week 10, no readings. But we're going to be drafting the next section of your paper. So you'll notice that even as we move through, some of the readings get lighter and lighter, and that's because it's understood that you're going to you're going to need that time to start gathering and reading your secondary sources for this paper, right? So you'll see that then there's a couple of pieces here designed to be like examples. So we've done our lit review. Now we're going to think about analysis of our data. And then the week after that, that's that same week. That same week, analysis, data, results. So week 11 will be a little bit heavier of a week. Week 12, all you have to do is your reflection journal. Week 13, we're putting everything together for the final draft. So you'll see that there are weeks here that are heavier, kind of on purpose, because there's like necessary material that I want you guys to think about. And there's lighter weeks that should feel a little bit easier / give you the chance to do your own secondary research for this project. So if you have any questions about that rhythm, please let me know. I'm just trying to create breathing space for you to be able to be working on this project along the way, because that's going to make it easier, I promise. Okay, last thing that I wanted to talk about was an overview of our readings. So really quickly, I'm just going to click on these to talk through them. Stepping in, Stepping Out is a chapter from a textbook about ethnography or ethnographic research. It's fairly easy reading, and in fact, after it gives you some basic definitions and descriptions of ethnographic research, there's this interesting example reading. And then we're thinking about the insider and outsider perspective. So Stepping in, Stepping Out is designed to help you think almost along the lines of like our Project 1 is getting your research perspective, your stance kind of settled in your mind. How are you going to approach ethnographic research writ large? This chapter on ethnography is going to go a little deeper. So whereas Stepping in, Stepping Out might feel a little easier reading, on ethnography, this first chapter, the book is called On Ethnography, Language, Culture, Learning, Ethnographic Approaches. This is going to give you more of a theoretical foundation, but it's also going to give you some key definitions like definitions of literacy, multimodality, thinking about culture. So it's a very interesting and helpful read, but this one might be a little more dense than Stepping in, Stepping Out. Now, field notes, because I told you that this is the main way we're going to be gathering our primary research, this is an excerpt from that same book that Stepping In, Stepping Out is from. And it's just, like maybe 9 to 10 pages of explaining, describing, and giving you examples of field notes. So this is going to be really good, especially if you've never taken field notes before and you're like, I'm sorry, what? This little PDF that we've got here is going to be really helpful. And then last but not least, this chapter on multimodal ethnography, this is just designed to help you think about so like the first 3 readings basically describe classic ethnographic studies and practices. But of course, we won't be able to actually physically go into our field site to do the research. So we're thinking about this as a digital or a multimodal ethnography. And this chapter will give you an example and some explanations, excuse me, of different ways that you can think about your research when it's not classic ethnography. So this is going to give you an example of how the authors of this chapter did some ethnographic research at a science center. And so they're going to talk you through how they used the different ways, the media, the modes for collecting data in this multimodal environment. So it'll tell you things like ways that you can be looking to your online interactions with your tutee as data. You can look at action and reaction sequences between you and your student. You can think about materiality, the importance of materials for both of you or in mediating the interactions between you. You can think about interactivity. So there's a lot here that's just designed to give you some examples for how things can look when ethnography has to be mediated with digital technologies. So, like I said, it's really more of like a methodological overview for this week in terms of the readings. They should be fairly quick. If you have any questions about them, of course, please feel free to contact me and we can talk about any or all of them. All right, so I'm going to pull back to our full view and give us our final announcements and close out this video. Okay, so here's what's up. Your peer mentors are amazing, obviously. You guys know that. But for those of you who are in section 002, your peer mentor is Kat. Don't forget that she has an awesome discussion thread called Kat's Corner where she's been posting lots of helpful tips, tricks, articles, examples, and she's going to continue to use that as a place to share good information with you. Both of our peer mentors, both Kat and Carly, have their discussion threads. I believe Kat's is WhatsApp and Carly's is GroupMe. Do not hesitate to use those to ask questions or to post ideas or even to just kind of see what other people are doing as they're getting started with Project 3. Another thing, Kat did change her hours of availability. Check that out in an effort to make sure she is available to give you guys quick responses. She has posted some specific hours where she's like not just available for like a Zoom appointment, but she could just be there to quickly text you if you need a quick answer. Make sure you also understand and utilize Carly's office hours. So make sure you're utilizing your peer mentors. They are an incredible support for you. And they are being really creative and awesome about different ways that they're trying to reach out to you and support you guys in this class. All right, of course, don't hesitate to send me an email, set up a Zoom appointment with me if you'd like to. Otherwise, I hope that you guys are having a great week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.